The Supreme Court just handed the president something that Justice Sotomayor called a loaded weapon: absolute immunity to commit crimes in the most powerful office in the land. Think about that for a second. A president can now use the Department of Justice like his personal attack dog, shielded from accountability, immune from prosecution, and untouchable by the law. And in the middle of this constitutional earthquake, Adam Schiff just went head-to-head with Pam Bondi in a showdown that pulled back the curtain on the real danger: blind loyalty over the rule of law. Schiff didn't just ask tough questions, he forced Bondi to choose between truth and political obedience, between independence and submission to demands from above.
Yet, there's no worry about divulging law enforcement sensitive information. So just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news is
horrible. Are you aware of a...
Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not looked at it.
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one has asked me to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president has
We're also worried about Liz Cheney, Senator.
The president has called for this.
You know what we should be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
The crime rate in California right now is through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I want to be focused on, Senator.
Do you have the power to say no to the president? And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell us, can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I won't do it. I won't play politics with any ongoing investigation.
So let me ask you another.
Like you did leaking your colleague Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election, yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question, if you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election, yes or no? Was there or was there not?
I can tell you what I saw when I went as an advocate to the campaign.
That's not my question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It will also be important that you give good advice to the president. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president. We will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a case. Let me finish. On a case-by-case basis.
Okay, good.
And I abhor violence to police officers.
Follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president, Mr. President, I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files for the pardons,
will you be able to review hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am asked to look at.
Of course you won't. So will you advise the president?
Can I answer the question?
Well, my question is...
I would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want?
You'll be able to review hundreds of cases on the first day?
I'm not going to mislead this body, nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask another question.
You were censured by Congress, Senator, for comments just like this that are so reckless.
It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do you
department.
see any?
And what happened next revealed everything about where our justice system stands and just how close we are to losing it. Because if an attorney general can't even admit the 2020 election wasn't stolen, how can they be trusted to protect the Constitution? This was more than a hearing, it was a test of democracy itself. When the Supreme Court ruled in United States President, the majority didn't just make a legal decision, they rewrote the rules of American democracy. In a stunning opinion, Chief Justice Roberts declared that the president enjoys absolute immunity when carrying out so-called core functions of the office. That means even if crimes are committed through the Justice Department, the president cannot be held accountable. Justice Sotomayor, in a fiery dissent, warned that this new shield now hangs over the nation like a loaded weapon, ready to be picked up by whoever sits in the Oval Office next. The implications are chilling. A leader could direct investigations, prosecute political rivals, or bury cases without ever facing consequences. The very system designed to enforce the law could instead become a tool to dismantle it. And that's the reality Adam Schiff laid bare in his clash with Pam Bondi. He wasn't speculating, he was sounding an alarm. The danger isn't hypothetical, it's immediate. Schiff knows that once immunity becomes normalized, the Department of Justice transforms from a guardian of the Constitution into the president's personal sword and shield, and the question he posed to Bondi cut straight to the heart of the crisis. Adam Schiff wasted no time cutting through the noise. His opening questions weren't abstract and they weren't partisan sparring. They were simple, direct, and designed to reveal whether Pam Bondi had the independence to stand up to the most powerful office in the world. Could she say no when it mattered most? Could she uphold the law even if the president demanded otherwise? Schiff framed it perfectly. This wasn't a hypothetical exercise, it was a real test of her character in front of the nation. Bondi's answers, however, spoke volumes. Instead of a clear commitment, she leaned on rehearsed talking points. I would need to look at the file. It would be irresponsible to answer without evidence. On paper, those words sound cautious. In reality, they sounded like hesitation, like a lawyer looking for the safest escape route rather than the truth. Schiff kept pressing. He wanted to know if she could ever draw a line, if she had the spine to resist pressure from above. And what unfolded wasn't reassurance, it was deflection. The Attorney General's role isn't about loyalty to a president, it's about loyalty to the Constitution. Schiff's persistence made one thing clear: Bondi's reluctance to give straight answers was itself the answer. The clash sharpened when Schiff brought up the special counsel. His question was simple: if the president demanded an investigation into Jack Smith, would Pam Bondi open one without evidence? This wasn't a trick, and it wasn't theoretical, it was a live test of whether she understood the difference between law and political vendetta. Schiff repeated the question again and again, boiling it down to a yes or no moment. Could she say that the president's word alone wasn't enough? Bondi's response was a maze of hesitation. She insisted she hadn't seen the file, that she would look at the facts, but she stopped short of giving the one answer that would have reassured the nation: no, political orders are not evidence. The dodging was obvious. Schiff pushed harder, pointing out that the president's desire is not the same as proof, not the same as justice. Yet Bondi resisted a clear rejection of the idea. What viewers saw wasn't confidence, it was reluctance. And that's exactly the danger Schiff wanted to expose. Because if the Attorney General can't reject the idea of launching investigations based on nothing more than presidential will, then the Department of Justice risks becoming a political weapon instead of a shield for the Constitution. Then came the question that cut to the very core of America's political crisis: could Pam Bondi acknowledge without hesitation that the 2020 election was not stolen? Schiff framed it as an easy truth, something any independent attorney general should be able to say. No games, no evasions, just a simple statement of fact. But instead of answering, Bondi pivoted. She talked about crime rates, she talked about Pennsylvania, she circled around everything except the question. Schiff pressed again: was there massive fraud that changed the outcome of the election? Yes or no? And once again, Bondi slipped into vagueness, dodging the central issue as though even uttering the truth might break her political standing. For Schiff, that refusal was the telltale sign of what's really at stake. An attorney general who can't even admit the reality of a certified election has already failed the independence test. It wasn't just about the past, it was about the future.
Wow.
If you can't speak the truth about the vote, how can you be trusted to enforce it in the next cycle? Schiff made clear that this wasn't politics, it was about reality, facts, and whether the nation's chief law enforcer could ever put the Constitution above loyalty. After exposing her refusal to confront the truth about the election, Schiff turned to another test of independence, presidential pardons. He asked Bondi directly whether she would advise against blanket pardons for those convicted of violence on January 6. The question wasn't complicated, it was about whether justice applies equally to everyone, even those who stormed the Capitol. Bondi's answer, however, was anything but clear. She spoke about reviewing cases individually, about needing to see files before making recommendations. On the surface that might sound responsible, but Schiff knew what it really meant, a convenient way to sidestep accountability, while leaving the door wide open for mass forgiveness. He pressed harder, asking whether she could tell the president flat out, no blanket pardons, yet she refused to commit. The exchange revealed something deeper than legal caution. It showed the playbook of selective justice, where pardons become political rewards instead of tools for mercy. Schiff understood the danger. If the Attorney General isn't willing to say no, then the power of pardon can be twisted into a weapon, erasing crimes committed in the name of loyalty. And once again, Bondi's evasions made clear she wasn't prepared to stand up when it mattered most. By this point, the hearing had already revealed cracks in Bondi's answers. But Schiff wasn't finished. He turned to a question that should have been the easiest of all: would she commit to preserving every piece of evidence from the January 6 investigation? A simple yes was all it took to reassure the public that accountability would not be erased. Yet Bondi couldn't say it. Instead, she leaned on vague promises to follow the law and consult with ethics officials. Schiff pressed her again, asking why something so basic was so difficult. Preserving evidence is the cornerstone of justice. Without it, cases collapse, truth disappears, and history itself gets rewritten. Her refusal to commit wasn't just evasive, it raised the alarming possibility of a cover-up. For Schiff, the point was crystal clear: if the Department of Justice won't even guarantee to safeguard its own records, then its credibility crumbles. The silence, the hedging, the reluctance to make that promise spoke louder than any admission. In that moment, viewers saw what happens when political loyalty collides with the most fundamental principle of law, the preservation of truth. And Schiff left no doubt: without that commitment, the entire justice system hangs in the balance. When the dust settled, one thing was impossible to ignore. Adam Schiff wasn't just questioning Pam Bondi, he was holding up a mirror to the nation. Every dodge, every half-answer, every refusal to state the obvious revealed the deeper crisis. The fight wasn't about one Attorney General nominee or a single hearing, it was about whether truth, accountability, and the rule of law still have defenders in the halls of power. Schiff's warning rang loud and clear: if an Attorney General cannot reject political vendettas, cannot acknowledge certified election results, cannot promise to preserve evidence, then the entire system is at risk. Independence isn't optional, it's the bedrock of democracy. And without it, the Department of Justice becomes nothing more than an extension of political will, bending to whoever holds the office instead of standing guard over the Constitution. This hearing exposed more than Bondi's evasions. It exposed a future where loyalty tests replace facts, and silence becomes complicity. Schiff's relentless questioning reminded the country that the stakes aren't partisan, they're existential. Because once the law is sacrificed for politics, it may never come back. So what do you think? Was Schiff right to press this hard? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned. The next video dives into an even bigger fight.